Good morning, this is Kara, and welcome back to glazing with AMACO. And today I'm going to go over some ancient copper glazing things. So ancient copper is one of our Potter's Choice series glazes that came out 2 years ago, and it is very popular, but we do have complaints from time to time, and people seem to get different kinds of results. So I wanted to talk about how firing makes a big difference. For some glazes, the issue is more about how the glaze is applied, as we saw with flambe and copper red. Flambe makes a big difference depending on application. However, ancient copper is one of those glazes that it really is more different depending on how you fire it. So if you're firing it a little bit differently, it will come out very, very different. And I'm going to talk about the importance of cones, but also about the things that cones can't show you. So today I'm actually going to use ancient copper on this cup. So I will be doing a little bit of glazing. And I'm also going to use the satin matte blue-green. I have a tile here where I actually overlapped it, and you can see the ancient copper changes quite a bit over the satin matte. But where it is by itself, this is just ancient copper, and this is 11M AMACO white stoneware, and this was fired to cone 6 in a normal medium speed firing. You can see how it makes these amazing crystals. You can also see on the label, this was a cone 5 firing, so it comes out more satiny. But I'm going to show you some more tiles in a little bit. So on this cup, I'm actually not going to overlap them. I'm just going to put them next to each other, and they will run a little bit, but not too much. So I'm going to start with the satin matte. So you'll notice I always shake my jar. I had a lot of questions last week about brushes. These are AMACO fan brushes. You can find them on the AMACO website. These are size 4s. Usually I use size 6s, but to get into the texture today, I'm going to go with the 4. So the AMACO brushes are natural fiber. They are really meant for using with glaze, and they carry a lot of glaze in them, but you will notice that I reload them frequently. So if you go to the AMACO.com and look under Tools and look under Glaze Tools, you will find Fitch fan brushes in sizes 6 and 4. And like I said, this is a size 4. So there's my one coat of the satin matte, making sure I get it into all the texture, but I can take it right to the bottom because it doesn't move, and I will clean that up. So here's an example of a test tile with the SM29. This is SM29 blue-green, and that's what it looks like when it doesn't have anything over it. And then this is SM29 Emerald Falls. It's not 29. 27? It's Emerald Falls. So I wanted to show you guys, while that is drying, I'm going to show you guys some tiles. So Shantae Farabach is one of our tech support team, and when we were having some issues with ancient copper, she made a series of tests with ancient copper to show what happens in different kinds of firings. So she has fired ancient copper to see if it would show what it would look like when it was under fired. For those of you who don't use cones, this is a cone 4 slightly over a cone 4. This is a cone 5. You can see that it's showing the tiniest amount of bend, so it clearly is not reaching cone 5 at all. And you can see that it has a little bit of luster to it, but it does not have that beautiful patina, and it's a little bit dull. This would be 3 coats, and so that is 2 coats, 1 coat, 4 coats. So this is our preferred coat, but you'll notice it's kind of dull. It's not really there yet. So she also fired cone 4 with a 25-minute hold, which when you look at cone 5 is getting pretty close to cone 5 because of that hold. And when we look at the 3 coats, it's starting to develop that patina. It's looking okay. So the hold is pushing it up. So when you have an excessively long hold, like 25 minutes or longer, you are probably getting more heat work than what you are originally targeting. So that's what's happening here. She is starting to get that beautiful patina, and you can see how it's very, very dark on the texture where it's breaking across the texture. So cone 4 is completely mush. Cone 5 is not quite at a cone 5, but it is getting close. And then she also did cone 4 with a 45-minute hold. At which cone 5 is fully bent. That is a full cone 5. And 3 coats right here looks about how we would expect a cone 5 to look. So even though the kiln was programmed for cone 4, but a 45-minute hold means that the heat work takes it up to a cone 5, and we get pretty much what we would expect to see from a cone 5 firing. So when if your kiln is not quite firing to cone 5, or you may get results that could be anywhere from kind of dull to expected, depending on the amount of heat work. This shows you the importance of cones in your firing, because both of these were fired to a scheduled cone 4. This one had a long hold, so it actually went to cone 5. This one did not. So just because you schedule it for a particular cone, it's not necessarily at that cone. You really need to use witness cones in your firing. So she then did cone 5, medium speed, with a 10-minute hold. And one of these cones has broken. But you can see it's a full cone 5. Cone 6 is just starting to bend. 3 coats looks almost exactly like what we would expect from the label tile. So that 10-minute hold, pretty much the same kind of heat work, very expected. So we were kind of puzzled as to why we were having people getting these really muddy brown kind of results. Until Shantae replicated some firings that some people were using, and they said, you know, I got a full cone 5, here's my cone 5, it is totally bent, but I'm getting this brown result. And this was with a slow cool schedule. So what was happening is that the slow cool, you know, the firing was reaching the right temperature, the right amount of heat work, but the slow cool was encouraging the growth of microcrystals, which was making it kind of look almost exactly the same as the cone 4 firing, kind of dull, brown, not really what people were looking for. Certainly not this kind of result. Let's see if we can see those crystals. It looks like a totally different glaze, doesn't it? And the only difference was the slow cool schedule and 1 cone difference. So now you might be saying, well, some people say that they fire ancient copper to cone 6. So Shantae did look at a cone 6 slow cool. So this is a full cone 6 slow cool schedule, and 3 coats. Doesn't look too bad. It's got a lot of red in it, more red than you would expect, but it comes out glossy and not so dark. So the higher temperature was working, but to really get that crystal growth, the pretty kind of freckles, was a cone 6 medium with a 10-minute hold and no slow cool. So this is 3 coats, no slow cool. Can we see that? There we go. Isn't that pretty? So Shantae put in a lot of time and effort in making that, making those tests. So that gives everyone a lot of information. So if you are having results that are not what you expect, it might be that your firing schedule is the problem. It might be that your heat work is the problem. It might be that your kiln is not reaching full temperature. So those are all possibilities. But it is why when you call or contact us and your glazes are not looking the way that you're expecting them to look, the first question we will always ask is, what do your cones look like? You should be using a witness cone in every firing. So you see I'm just bringing that ancient copper right to the line. Oh, I got a little bit on my finger. It's okay. I'm not going to worry about it at this point. I'm just going to make sure I get all the glaze on. You see how I kind of wiggle it to get it right to that line. You'll also notice I reload my brush very often. And there we go. So I'm going to take a short break, and we will come back for part 2 at 12:30, and I'll have some other tiles to show you and some other things. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like to see those ancient copper tiles again, or ask me questions about ancient copper, just drop those in the comment and I'll be looking at them before we start back at 12:30 Eastern Time. It's good to see you guys. Thanks.